Hello and welcome to another Wicked gameplay video. Today I'm back in the Cessna, the A2A Simulations Cessna C172. I'm obviously in prepared if I'm in this aircraft, and today what I want to do is do a scenery comparison with the default prepared scenery versus the Orbix scenery pack. So the Orbix scenery pack I'm going to be looking at is FTX Australia. So it's the whole of Australia. And obviously because I'm Australian, I live in Australia, and that is where I would be primarily flying as a pilot. This is the scenery that I wanted to get without spending twice the amount of money. So you can get the FTX Australia pack for $47 Australian, which is pretty cool. And that's what I grabbed. So what I want to do is we could just have a quick look around here. You can see the scenery. This is default scenery from Prepared. It's pretty nice straight out of the box. I'm at the Wollongong Airport, which is Yankee Whiskey Oscar Lima, which is about 1 hour south of Sydney here in Australia. This is the Wollongong Airport. It's not a huge place, but a relatively sort of small city. It's probably the next biggest kind of city outside of Sydney, but nowhere near the size of Sydney. So what I want to do is, you can see the scenery here looks pretty decent straight out of the box. We're just going to take a quick trip up in the air. Now I've turned some of the scenery settings down a little bit. That was really because I'm having some frame rate issues without a dedicated graphics capture card. It's a bit taxing on my CPU as it is, so that's something on the agenda for me to get, which is a dedicated game capture card, which will mean I can improve the recording of the scenery and the videos that I'm producing. So unfortunately for this one I've had to turn it down. With Prepared being only 32-bit, I definitely see a difference recording Prepared versus recording X-Plane, which is 64-bit. In X-Plane I generally don't have any problem with frame rates while recording, but in Prepared I do, and that is just a limitation of 32-bit, unfortunately. Okay, let's jump in the aeroplane and give myself 10 degrees of flaps. Now I'm not going to be following any proper procedures here. This is about the scenery, not about the procedures and processes of flying an aircraft correctly. So I just want to get us up in the air. One thing I find really odd about Prepared is the lights. If you look at those lights there, they just look like floating kind of balls in the air. I just think they're weird. Compared to, say, what I see in X-Plane, they are kind of weird. But they are the default scenery, so we're up. Just going to pitch my nose down a little bit. Now hopefully we don't suffer any frame rate loss, which is what I'm going to be trying to do. So just put my headphones in there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of bank and head to the north. Sydney is north of Wollongong. So if we look at here, I won't go over the water because that tends to impact frame rates. But you can see there's not really a lot here to look at, but admittedly it's still pretty nice for default scenery. One advantage, I think, the Prepared / FSX, if you want to sort of bundle the two together, is, and I guess because FSX is kind of seen as the simulator before Prepared to some degree. Obviously Prepared is derived from FSX sort of engine, at least the way I understand it. So the scenery is actually pretty decent straight out of the box. It's actually not bad, and in some cases I would probably say it's better than probably X-Plane in some ways. X-Plane has the auto-generated scenery, which kind of works, but I think it's probably its biggest letdown. is the scenery. So that's just my opinion. So yeah, this is what we're looking. This is what this is going to look like in the default. So it kind of looks like a bit of a desert, really. And Wollongong is not really a desert. It's on the east coast of Australia, and pretty green actually, generally. So it'd be really interesting to see what changes Orbx makes to this scenery. We'll just jump outside and see if we don't cop any frame rate losses. Let's have a little look. You know, it's definitely a little bit more plausible than, say, what I see in X-Plane. I think the buildings in X-Plane seem a little bit random, but it is auto-gen, so I don't know how this is generated, whether this is, you know, some sort of manually generated process the way it's been done, but obviously FSX sort of engine, if you want to call it that, has been around for a while, so they've had a little bit of time to make this kind of look a little bit realistic. But in saying that, it's not even super fantastic either. Just okay. You know, if you just wanted to get prepared straight out of the box, this is not bad scenery at all. So that's kind of where we're at. What I might do now is we've got a pretty good idea what this kind of looks like. And I'm going to now stop the video, install Orbx FTX Australia, and have a look at that, and we'll do a bit of a comparison. I'll just check my frame rate. I've set it for a target of 30 FPS, and we're getting around 29. I have got this turned down a little bit, like I said, to improve frame rates while recording. So the textures have been turned down to, I think it's 1024 by 1024 or whatever it is. So that's going to reduce the quality, obviously, of the landscape and the textures. So, but until I get a capture card, that's just how it's going to be. But it is actually quite smooth. I'm also only recording in 720p, not 1080, for the same reason. So I'd rather have a smooth flowing video for you guys to watch. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off this, jump out of this flight, install Orbx, and I'll be right back and we'll see the difference. Okay, so welcome back. You didn't go anywhere, but I did. But we're back. I've installed Orbx FTX Australia, and just sitting on the ground here, it looks, you know, a little bit better, I think, from memory. That's the beauty of recording this. You can actually go back and have another look. But it definitely does look better to me. We'll have to get up in the air and see. The trees are distinctively Australian. Let me just turn off this FPS. Put my flaps. Let's get in the air and check it out what it looks like up looking down to the ground. But I think it looks much nicer. Alright, I better accelerate, I guess, if I want to get up. Still think those lights kind of look weird, the lights on the side of the runway. Alright, just trim it forward a little bit. Okay, so you can actually see, first thoughts are much greener. As I said when I was looking at the first, when I was talking about the first, the default scenery in Prepared, I was saying how it's not desert, and we had a lot of kind of desert looking areas here, and living reasonably close to this area, it just doesn't have desert around here. You can see it's a lot greener. It's definitely much more realistic to the true look of this area. I'll just jump outside here and see if we can get a bit of a look. No frame rate loss. doesn't look like, so that's great. We'll just pan around the plane here. We'll get a bit of a, and you can see much more houses. You know, definitely more realistic and much more natural looking. Probably what you'd kind of expect there to be. So pretty cool. Look off in the distance there, to the far behind the plane on the other side, onto that sort of banks over there. You can see a lot more housing, which is pretty cool. And no desert. You know, it's just the desert is gone. Far more realistic. So definitely made a difference. Jump back in the plane. A quick look in. I mean, considering the amount of work that goes into scenery, I mean, just if you've ever tried to do any kind of scenery, you'll know how difficult and how how painstakingly slow it is just to get it, you know, to do that detail. I've tried doing a few airports in X-Plane, and it just blows me away when I see people with such detail, the amount of time they've spent to get that kind of detail. So this is looking really cool. I'm really liking this. You know, this is very distinctively Australian. It looks quite good. You know, I'm very happy with that. I think that's pretty impressive. You know, the mountain ranges I think look pretty good. I thought they did look pretty good before. It's more the buildings, you know, the housing estates and stuff like that. It's a little. I'm actually. It's a pretty poor choice of words. A lot better than what was seen before. You can see there's absolutely zero desert, which is correct. There's no desert in this area. It is eastern part of Australia. It's quite green. It rains quite a bit over here. You know, it's reasonably. It's not really wet area, but you know, it's generally green all the time. It's right on the ocean here, and this is pretty typical of what Wollongong would look like. If I had to say anything, I mean, I don't know the airport area specifically. You don't see any bitumen roads, which kind of seems a little bit weird, but maybe that's what this area does look like. I mean, there's a bit of a road there, but it doesn't look like it's populated in any sense. Okay, so we're coming up a little bit further on now. See, there's a lot more housing. I think this is kind of where we had a bit of the desert kind of look going on. Let's get over here and we'll see what this kind of looks like. Sort of the buildings, I believe, all look the same. Like the factory kind of buildings over there. Not the home dwellings, just the factory kind of buildings, but the desert look has definitely disappeared, which is pretty cool. So, verdict. I think it's definitely worth the money. I plan on doing a lot of flying across Australia, obviously being someone who lives in this country, and looking to get my own private pilot license. It's very important to me to have you know, fairly realistic scenery, so I can sort of train with those cross-country trips. That would be part of your flight training. Very cool. Now, one thing, about a week ago now, I did go flying in a Cessna. I took an introductory flying session with one of the flight schools at Camden Airport here in Sydney, and it was a pretty amazing experience. After coming off the flight, you know, using a flight simulator, you know, the cockpit was very comfortable to me after doing that, which was pretty cool. What sort of amazed me, and really shouldn't, but you know, it is, if you look, and one thing I like about the EasyDock system is the movement of the plane. Now you can see that cockpit's moving, and that's pretty much what is going to really happen in the plane. Like, I was a little bit, not shocked, but maybe a little bit surprised at how much movement. It was quite a good day, but you know, just with the pockets of air and stuff, it was pretty exhilarating, and definitely not the same as sitting in your comfy chair at home with zero movement. So that was a pretty cool experience. Unfortunately, I didn't get any photos. I did take a couple, which I posted on Twitter at the airport, but I didn't post any in the air because I was too busy flying it. The instructor actually allowed me to take off and land with, obviously with some assistance, and so I didn't get the opportunity to take any footage or photos. So definitely next time, planning on going on starting some flight training. Just a matter of working out my schedule, which is really the whole idea of why I wanted to get the Orbix scenery and kind of simulate you know, the process of learning to fly and practicing those things that you would learn in a flight school. So also why I've got the A2A C172 trainer, which is pretty cool. Really try to get that simulation and that realism going. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up. We're going to, I'm planning on doing some trips around, some videos around trips around Australia, just short flights. Wouldn't mind sharing those on the channel, different places around Australia. We'll see what that looks like, and we can have a look at different parts of this map and some of the best parts of it. It'd be really interesting to go up to the northern parts of Australia and have a look at what that looks like over there, like Ayers Rock. It'd be pretty cool. And you never know, maybe I can relive that in a real plane when I get my own license at some point. Well, I appreciate you for watching. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, and if you like this video and want to see more of this and want to support this channel, give it a thumbs up. It helps. The channel is slowly growing, and it's pretty exciting. I appreciate everyone who watches, and subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of thing. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you on the next video.